and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy helping women escape the illusions of corporate life and step into a soul aligned freedom. No other than Miss Wendy Bay. Welcome, Miss Wendy. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Thank you, Daniel. I really appreciate you having me. This is my second official podcast, and I really appreciate you taking the time and giving me the floor, even though I'm really new at this. I'm Wendi Bay. I'm the founder of the Sacred Exit, and that's basically where a program that I created to help women stop sacrificing their souls for corporate jobs and step into work that aligns with their soul and their creativity and their calling. So that's what I do.
Miss Wendy Bay, thank you so much for empowering women all over the world. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So tell us what the phrase sacred exit is profound. What makes leaving a corporate job as a sacred act rather than just a practical or financial decision?
Hmm, that's a really good question. The sacred exit is about making a responsible exit. I think what can happen is if you're in the corporate arena as long as I had been, I was in it for 20 years. There were many points where I wanted to quit on a whim. I wanted to quit suddenly, right? It was maybe I had a horrible boss, or maybe there was, a policy that was implemented that I didn't like in the corporation, or maybe I wasn't getting along with a coworker. Whatever may happen, I didn't, quit emotionally. I didn't say I can't take this anymore. I'm leaving, right? A
Yes.
sacred exit is about realizing the spiritual reasons and implications of why you should leave corporate as a woman, and putting into place a framework. I call it my SPS framework, which is spiritual, practical, and strategic. You put all those together and you create a plan to leave corporate based off of that framework, then you're less likely to ever go back to corporate, because what I want to do is I want to get women out of corporate and I don't want them going back. So they need to understand the reasons why they should leave, and then listen, those reasons will stay with you for life. And it won't be about making an emotional, sudden, unplanned exit. We don't want that.
Yes. We want a good exit for sure. So,
Mhm.
how do you define sacrificing your soul in the context of a corporate job? What are the subtle and obvious signs that this is happening?
Well, it's usually, we're taught that if we have a certain feeling in our body or in our mind, to just sort of push it away and, sweep it under the rug and just do what you got to do and keep going, right? And I think what women need to start doing is they need to start listening to their body. If their body is responding in a way, maybe through health issues or through burnout, or maybe even mental health issues because of a toxic corporate job, they should listen to that, right? And that is one way to know that you are sacrificing your soul, because you're there not because you like it, not because it feels good, not because you're actually helping people. You're in a corporation to, make a profit. And we know that a lot of these corporations are profit over people. I mean, that's not a secret. So when you sacrifice your soul, that is your feminine energy, your natural creativity, and your natural gifts, you put those aside, you suppress those in order to further a profit agenda, that's sacrificing your soul.
What was a personal moment or series of events that made you realize you were not just burning out, but were actually sacrificing something much deeper?
Well, I would say it was a mixture of things. I was at one company for 18 years, and then I was at the second company for 2 years. And I think the first company that I was at, I had so many horrible experiences that I just decided to, oh, I'll just let it go because, keeping a job is a responsible thing to do and I'm making money. So, even though I wasn't happy, right? And then when I moved to the next company that I stayed at for 2 years, I told myself, okay, well, this company is a little better. But what often happens in corporate, many of them are pretty much run the same way. And the same issues that I was dealing with at the first company started to arise at the second company because the honeymoon period had ended. And so I think the difference with the second company was that I said, I'm no longer willing to wait around for things to get better. I just need to leave. So there were many things. There were, I had developed certain health issues. I had developed burnout. It was to the point where I couldn't even stand the job, Daniel. Where you open up your inbox, your email inbox, and you see emails, and it just is repulsive to your soul. Somebody calling you up on the phone asking you for an innocent request, and you're just like, oh God, I don't want to do this. Every single thing. And the second company that I was working at, I had to travel a lot as well. And I hated, I'm an introverted person by nature. And so I don't like being in big crowds and I don't like being, kind of stuffed in a can on a plane. And I really don't like being around people that I don't like. And in corporate, you have to be around people you don't like and pretend you like them, right? You have to, when you're traveling, you have to be with everybody else. And I just said to myself, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good in my body, in my mind, in my spirit. So yes, those were the things I think that, they were growing very gradually. And then it got to a breaking point where I said, I can't do this anymore.
On the corporate systems and its impact, in what ways are traditional corporate structures and cultures specially designed to demand this kind of soul level sacrifice, particularly for women?
Again, it's all about profit. It's not about people. So you may have needs as a person, as a woman, that are going to go unfilled. They're going to go unfilled in corporate because it's not about you. Corporate does not honor the individual. Corporate honors groupthink. Corporate honors the group. There's the I can't remember if it's a Japanese or Chinese saying that says the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. They don't like it when you stand out. So even as unique as you are as an individual, and especially being a woman, you have to fit. Let's say you're a round peg. Well, you have to fit into a square peg. I'm sorry, a square hole. All right, in order to please corporate, keep your job and keep that paycheck coming. Right? So
Yes.
corporate is about basically trimming all of that those unique layers of you off and making you fit into their structure. They're very good at it. That's why they have policies. That's why many of them are formed in Delaware because it's about not about protecting the people that work for them, it's about protecting the corporation. Because that's what it's about. It's about their profit. It's about their success. And we're just there to help them get there. And yeah, they pay us, sure, but I don't believe that a paycheck, I don't care if you're making 6 figures, 7 figures, I don't think that's an equal exchange for your energy or your soul.
Why is it so dangerous when women's identify as self-worth become completely intertwined with her job title and corporate performance?
Because that's not who she is. She is a job description that was given to her and a pay attached to it. That doesn't, what's on your job description and what you do for your job is literally that. It's what you do. It's not who you are. It's not about your unique gifts or your talents or your potential. I mean, they will use your potential as long as it serves them. But outside of that, they have no need for it. They have no want for it. Because again, if they were to honor each and every person's, each and every woman's natural gifts, talents, and potential, they wouldn't make a profit. Everybody needs to fit into the corporate structure as a function, as a well-oiled machine, a piece of a well-oiled machine. And we as women, I mean, I really don't believe that corporate is for men either, but for women, it's especially antithesis to who we are as beings, as living beings.
Miss Wendy, on the journey and the process of living, for a woman who feels this soul deep exhaustion but is terrified of the financial and social consequences of living, what is the first small step?
That's a great question because obviously that's really the biggest issue, right? Why we all stay at our jobs because we're afraid that we're not going to make money if we leave. So, what the sacred exit does is it helps you to identify your natural gifts and talents. Again, that could be that, I mean, the list of that could be as long as this earth. People have many different gifts and talents, right? It's about identifying what comes naturally to you and what you love doing, and then monetizing that. And so within the sacred exit framework, that SPS, that spiritual, practical, and strategic framework, we are able to find a practical way for her to turn those gifts and talents into something that she can monetize and help people. It's not just about making money. It's about helping people because that's why God gave us our gifts and our talents to contribute to the world, to have something to give to the world, right? So we help her to identify those things, and then we help her to, or rather, when I say we, I mean her and I work together. Um, and then we help her how to monetize those. And I think it's really important for your listeners to understand that if a woman has skills or gifts that she wants to monetize, but she doesn't know how, part of the Sacred Exit program is her getting the courses or the education that she needs in order to learn how to do that. So it's not about, telling her, okay, yeah, you want to be a graphic artist, or you want to paint, or you want to be a healer, you want to heal with your hands, right? It's not about just that. It's about her learning how to run a business, learning how to use social media to get her brand out there, get her name out there. And then it's about her actually monetizing it and doing that through obviously, uh, you know, common business practices that she should learn. Now, a lot of women that are in corporate, they already know those things. They've learned about business already. So many of them already know it. Um, but it's about bringing it together. And if she is behind on either one of those things, then she's not ready for a sacred exit. She must be ready on all fronts. She must understand spiritually why she's doing it. She must have practical plan in place and a strategic one to make sure that it's well thought out and she doesn't revert. She doesn't go back. So it's different for every woman. For one woman, it could take a month. It could take 6 months. It could take a year. It could take 2 years. The point is that she now has a plan and she's working at it. And so when she finally does make that sacred exit, she does it with complete confidence, knowing that she's never going to come back.
How do you help a woman navigate the massive fears of financial instability, lost identity, and societal judgment that keep them trapped?
That is the spiritual part, because a woman needs to understand again why she's making the exit. Now, I'll tell you right now, Daniel, it's not for every woman. I've had a lot of women tell me, well, that's just the way it is, and I'm going to stay here because, this makes me feel secure, and yeah, it's not ideal, but my bills are paid. It's not for those women. I've known plenty of those women, and probably those are the majority of women. That's the attitude of the majority of people. But I'm looking for a very specific group of women. That's who I draw in. The women that want more and are not afraid to actually believe in it and take the action to take it. Because I tell you what, right now, I just did a video on my Patreon about why we should reject that's just the way it is, saying that's just the way it is. I'm sure you've heard that phrase many times. I've heard it many times. And that's what people say when they feel powerless, when they feel that they don't have control over a certain situation. They say, well, that's just the way it is. Because many times they don't want to take the actual, the actions that they need, the changes that they need to make their dream life happen. So those aren't the women I'm talking to. I'm talking to the women that believe it, desire it, want it, and will do it.
Miss Wendy, as a CEO and founder of the Sacred Exit, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short-term goals would be to get reach more women. I definitely want to build my online presence. I currently have obviously my website. I have my Patreon, um, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and I have those because you can reach a different group of people, or rather, a different type of people in different platforms. My Patreon I use because it's a very sensitive subject on LinkedIn. I get many impressions of my content on LinkedIn, but very, very little engagement. And I think that makes sense because people don't want to be seen by HR or their corporation, right? So it's really important for me to have different platforms, social media wise, where people they have a variety of ways that they can get to my content. Number one. Long term, I probably will keep taking on clients, but it won't be as many clients because so much of my content will be online by that point, and I will have so many digital products to be sort of a self-help to people. And I will, like I said, I will occasionally take one or two clients a month. And yeah, depending on who I'm able to reach, I think, I'm kind of a cross that bridge when I get there type of person as well. But since I am getting such a great response, even if it's private response from women, um, I guess I'm focusing now on more than anything on my social media following and finding more women that need what I offer.
Good luck to your goals, Miss
Thank you.
Wendy, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those women out there want to be like you?
Um, they can be. That's just it. It's I had nobody really to walk me through this, but I'm just that type of person. I have a very deep faith in God and spirituality. And I believe if you want something, you should go for it. When I was 18, 19 years into my company, I had turned 40. And I had to step back and say, oh my God, I'm 40. How did I get here so quickly? I started at the company when I was 22, and here I am 40. And the time went by so quickly. And I said, when you get to that point, they call 40 over the hill. And I started asking myself, do I want 20 more years of this? Do I want 10 more years of this, or even 5, or even a month? And I said, no, I don't want that. And, I several other women that I worked with, we would talk and things about escaping, but like I was the only one I think that really truly intended to escape. And many of the women that I talked to, they had really, really nice 401ks, really, really nice savings accounts and things like that. They had been in it a little longer than I had nice ones too. But I saw that as my opportunity to leave. And so I took that leap of faith, and just like I knew it, God caught me. So it's very important for women to have a deep faith. That's why in the SPS framework, that spiritual part of it is so important, Daniel. You have to believe in something greater than yourself. If you just believe in yourself, you're gonna focus on the survival and the ego side of things. And that ego side of things is gonna tell you to not go anywhere. It's gonna tell you to stay there forever. And I listened to that ego side. I listened to it for 20 years, and that's why I was stuck for 20 years. But I finally listened, And God, I even think he was making it really, really difficult for me to stay at those jobs as well. It's like, okay, you're staying here, you want this, but you're doing something different, and I'm trying to tell you, you need to jump and you need to have faith. And when I did, just like I knew it, he caught me. And it was through prayer that I got the inspiration for Sacred Exit. So anybody can be me. It's not about being me, it's about being yourself. But now you have somebody here that did it, right? And was successful at doing it.
Yep.
And now I can show you how to do that.
Indeed, and thank you for that advice. Miss Wendy, and can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes, I would like to recommend the book Sacred Woman by Queen Afua. I don't know if you want a visual of the book, but I'm going to show you here. It's actually an ebook. No, I'm sorry,
Thank
it's not
you.
an ebook, but this is the ebook version that I have. I don't have the hard copy. But in the Sacred Woman, it's all about, she talks about womb wisdom. And she talks about honoring each phase of your menstrual cycle. And in corporate, women are not able to honor each phase of their menstrual cycle, right? You have your menstrual phase, your period, you have your follicular phase, you have your ovulation phase, and you have your luteal phase. And each phase kind of gives you a different superpower. But if you're working in corporate, you are not able to honor the energy of each of those phases because your job is to do the same thing day in and day out in corporate. It may work for men, but it doesn't work with a woman's biological cycle. So anyway, when I read this book, and that was a couple years before I left my first job, um, I realized that the reason why I was having such a bad time in corporate and why I was having certain health issues and things like that, and just discomfort and burnout, was because I was not honoring my cycle. Um, I honestly don't believe women should work on their period. I think women should rest completely. I think that each phase, like I was saying before, on your menstrual cycle, you are actually required to rest. You are supposed to rest on your menstrual cycle and do nothing except nourish your body, and your mind. And so like I said, in each phase that's not honored. So how is a woman supposed to honor herself and her feminine energy, her sacred feminine energy, and her womb wisdom if she's stuck in a 24-hour cycle that is built on a man's biological cycle? She's not. I knew women who, they would come to work and they would pop pills, whatever they had to do to get through the day during their period. They would, load themselves up with caffeine because your menstrual period takes a lot out of you. You get tired, you get exhausted very easily. And so women, birth control as well. That's another thing. Women would do that in order to not have to have a period. But there are a lot of studies that have come out showing that birth control is probably not the best way to handle your period. So I'm sorry, what was the question? I got a little off there.
No worries. That is your recommended book. So thank you for
Yes.
that, Miss Wendy. And hoping our listeners or viewers will read that book so that they will empower like you. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Wendy, I'm inviting you to please listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in age fourth season of my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them
Wow.
wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Wendy, if you could leave every woman who reads your advocacy or your business itself with one belief for feeling about her worth and her option
Hmm.
or options, what would it be?
I would tell her to read that book that I just recommended, The Sacred Woman by Queen Afua, and I think she will have a light bulb moment. And I think she will realize, oh, that's why I feel the way that I feel, in my job at different phases of my cycle. That's why, because I'm not honoring my womb, I'm not honoring my sacred feminine energy. So I really, really suggest that women educate themselves with that book. And again, the sacred exit is about reclaiming your energy and choosing to align with what honors it. Once we understand how corporate affects us on a biological and spiritual level, hopefully it will be enough to wake up women to see why they need to stop giving their energy to those spaces. And so that's a great book to read, but I also wanted to point out, if that book doesn't speak to you, I actually do have a digital guide on my website, and it's right there on the front page if you scroll down. Um, it's the very first digital product right there called The Sacred Cycle, and it goes over each phase of your cycle and how you can take advantage of each cycle for your betterment as a woman. And the very other product is, if you just scroll down to the second row there, it's called the Liberation Blueprint. If you don't want me to, you don't want a private one-on-one coaching call and you want to sort of work through it yourself, you can do that using my Liberation Blueprint as well. So there, all you have to do is go to my website, www.wendybay.com, and they're right there on the front page, and you can purchase them at your leisure, or any of the other products that I have available.
Miss Wendi Bay, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Can you please invite our listeners to support your business itself?
Thank you, Daniel. I really appreciate it. Again, this is my second podcast, and thank
Congratulations, you did a great job. Miss Wendy, keep up the good work. Create more advocacy that helps women all over the world. Yes, people, let's support Miss Wendy Bay, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering, well, advocacy for women to come. So, Miss Wendy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Monticom people, see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.